Very nervous. Let's have a look. IDP Sydney. Okay. But you can see this is my name. Let's have a look. Woo! Alright, so today is the 8th of March and I've got the IELTS Academic exam coming up next weekend, so exactly 7 days from today, which is the 15th of March. Now, the kind of person I am, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I left all the studying, everything till the very last moment. So I got all day today, which is a Sunday, then I have to work Monday to Friday, and then I'm probably going to try to cram a little bit more the day before. Now, the reason I'm making this, the reason I'm documenting this, is I want you guys to see, and maybe it's a gamble that won't pay off, but maybe it will work out, but basically in a very limited amount of time, how would I approach studying, how would I approach preparing without actually spending a lot of time? So what are the most essential tasks that I can focus on in the shortest period of time to get the highest score? So let's see if it works out. Every single person struggles with the writing section. For some reason, they always mysteriously fail by half a band or by one band. So my goal in these 2 days pretty much that I have to prepare, which is today and the next Saturday, the day before my exam, the only goal is to get the maximum score. And obviously it's very rare to get even 8 in IELTS writing. The first thing is that writing is usually difficult. Speaking is okay, I believe. Listening is the easiest one from what I know, and reading depends on how much you read, what's your vocabulary like, what's your comprehension like. So I'm not really worried about listening or speaking or reading. So what I want to focus on the most is the writing section. Now, how would I approach studying and preparing in 2 days? So watch. So what I did, I went on the official website and I wanted to check the writing task, how they're scored and what are the requirements they need to get the maximum score. So here we got task number 1 and here we have task number 2. Now, what they care about is task achievement, obviously how well you satisfy the requirements, coherence and cohesion, meaning that I'm assuming this is like the structure, the transition, lexical resources, which is your vocabulary, and obviously grammatical ranges, what kind of a variety of grammar you're using. So basically the most important thing I would assume is this and this. Alright, so heading to my exam. I was supposed to study all day yesterday. That didn't happen. I just watched a few videos and that's pretty much it. But I'm in front of the center now. So just did the speaking test, smashed it, and I got a free water bottle. Very nervous. Let's have a look. So this was my first IELTS exam. As you know from the previous clips, I've only spent actually 2 days preparing, and out of those 2 days I did a lot of procrastinating, so I didn't actually prepare that much. But as you can see, this is from IDP Sydney. Okay. And I'm going to hide my address. This is my name. I don't know if you can see it. Alexander Seletsky. Let's have a look. You know, it's like those gender reveal videos where somebody finds out if they have a baby boy or baby girl. It's the same thing. Okay, let's have a look. Oh geez, that's a horrible picture. That's a terrible picture. So you can see the date of the exam. Let me hide my personal information. So that was 15th of March 2020. Woo! We just made it. We made it. So here's what I got. Okay, you can see it over here. We've got 8.5 in listening, perfect 9 in reading, 8 in writing, 8.5 in speaking, and overall 8.5. Now, I made it a little bit dramatic, but actually I knew what was my score going to be in advance.
The reason why, because IDP Australia, they send you a text message to your phone with your score. So actually picking up the real score report, this is just a formality. But I actually knew what it was that I was getting before I made this video. So now you guys see this is a pretty good score. I was, to be honest, a little bit disappointed. I thought I was supposed to get a higher score in my speaking and in my writing, but that's okay, not a big deal. I analyzed what I did to get a good score in some sections, and what I did or didn't do in some of the other sections, which is why my score was a little bit lower than I expected. So today I have for you guys 5 tips of what are the things that can help you improve your score in the exam and what are the mistakes you have to avoid. So stay tuned. So the first tip is in regards to your speaking section. Now again, as you can see, I got 8.5 in the speaking section, and I'm not satisfied, but for most of you guys, this would be an amazing score, and it would be enough to apply for your studies or apply for your permanent residency. So my first tip in regards to your speaking section is make stuff up. So what I mean by make stuff up, especially in task 2, where you have to talk continuously for 2 minutes, it's absolutely crucial that you fully develop your answer, that you answer every single aspect of the question in order to get the most marks in your task achievement. Now, in my situation, I was asked a question that I didn't actually have a personal example. So oftentimes they ask you for examples from your own life when you felt very angry and you got over your anger, for example. So for me, it was very difficult in the question I had to think of something recently. So I had to make some stuff up. And again, maybe it sounds bad, maybe it doesn't, but you're not judged on the accuracy of your information. You're not judged on how clever your ideas are. You are judged on your English. And actually, the examiner doesn't care if your story is real or not, but you need to show the full range of your vocabulary, of your grammar, of your fluency, and task achievement, meaning you're answering every single part of the question. So let's say, especially in task 2, you get a situation and you can't think of anything. Borrow something from a movie or from a friend or from some drama you saw on TV and kind of incorporate that in your answer as if it's yours. And again, I don't believe that's unethical in any way because it's an English test. It's not a lie detector, right? It's not like you're getting questioned by the police and you have to give an honest answer. So again, for number 1, for my speaking section, this is the first one I did. If you get really stuck, make something up, especially for task 2. So my second tip is in regards to the listening section. As you saw, I got 8.5 in listening, and actually I'm a bit disappointed because I know I could have had 9. Now the reason I got 8.5 because I made a few silly mistakes, and I hope you don't repeat my mistakes so it doesn't cost you, half a band when you need 7 and you're getting 6.5, for example, or you need 8 and you're getting 7.5. So before they start playing the audios and listening, you have some preparation time. You need to be really, really, really careful and really thorough in actually reading the question and figuring out what kind of answer they want. Now, this is simple if you have a multiple choice question. And actually what I oftentimes did, I tried to use my common sense and guess the answer before I even heard the audio. And if the audio presented some different information, I would change it afterwards. But what I'm referring to specifically is fill in the blank questions in listening. Those are the ones that killed me, and those are the ones that cost me half a band, and I got 8.5 instead of 9. So what I mean is this. One of the questions I had in this exam was in regards to a location of a place. Now, in the question itself, they're asking for the street name and the postal code. So I had to listen to the address. I had to type it in. Now, what I did is I guess I got overconfident and I didn't bother reading the whole question and the options. So I was ready for the number of the street. Let's say it was 357. But whenever it came to the street name, I completely lost it. They started speaking and I wasn't prepared. And the spelling of the street was a little bit difficult. It was like Castle Row or something like that, or Castleborough. So I couldn't quite catch exactly what it was. And I know for a fact I got caught there. And what happened is the next question again, I was not prepared. It was also a fill in the blanks question, and it was the postal code of the place. So again, I should have used my common sense. And typically postal codes have numbers or letters or a combination. So this was an example of that. They spelled it out like KB80C6. But the thing is, they only played it one time, and I was still scrambling to figure out the spelling of the street name, and I lost it here as well. And I kind of wrote something from memory. But you know, in listening section, once they play it, you cannot go back and re-listen to it again. So I know for a fact those two questions were wrong, and I know they cost me some marks. Now, my third tip is also for the listening section. Many of you guys, for example, are planning to apply to Canada for your permanent residency. And in Canada, you need to get 777 in 3 sections, and you need to get 8 in your listening. So it's quite important. So here's the tip. You need to check the grammar of the sentence. Again, I repeat, you need to check the grammar of the sentence, especially for fill in the blanks in listening. Oftentimes, they will be asking you to type in one-word answers. So the example I had was in regards to somebody who was a painter and a musician, and basically the answer was the word arts. Okay, so it was something like this particular person became interested in blank, right? But actually the way the question was structured, I could check the grammar of the sentence that they needed something plural. It had to be the word arts and not the word art. So what I mean is always have a look at the grammar of the sentence. Your answers in listening always have to be grammatically correct. So make sure you're catching the ED or the S at the end of words, because especially for non-native English speakers, when we talk really fast, it's easy to miss the S and ED. For example, let's say I'm talking to another friend of mine, and we're talking about some kind of vaccine or something like that. I can say, yeah, this vaccine was developed in North America. So I would say this vaccine was developed in North America, right? Now, for many of you guys, because you have the pressure of the exam and you're so focused on one particular answer and you're so focused on that word, that the word develop, right? We tend to eat the ED or the S, and you guys tend to write the word develop, but you miss the S or the ED. Whereas for us, we can kind of understand based on the context of the sentence that it was past tense. So it has to be ED. So same example I was giving you guys earlier for the word arts. You need to be able to quickly check the grammar of the sentence if it's supposed to be phone or phones. Because if it was phone, it would be a phone, the phone, my phone. But if there is no article in front of the blank, right, it's most likely plural. So this is tip number 3. My fourth tip for you guys to improve your score in a short period of time and to avoid making the same mistakes that I did. Number 4 is for your reading section. So my tip for the reading section is skimming and scanning. Skimming the text and scanning the options to be able to find your answers really quickly. Now, specifically, some of those options, some of those answers will be super easy, and you will spend less than 1 minute to figure them out. But the problem is the harder ones, especially when you get a longer passage, or if you're doing the academic IELTS and you got something a little bit more technical. We tend to get stuck for a long time looking for a specific answer, even though it's difficult. So my recommendation is this. The easy questions, do them really, really quickly. The harder questions, maybe spend 1 to 1.5 minutes. But if you're still stuck after a minute or minute and a half, just mark that question for later review. Especially in the computerized test, you have the options to pick the answer, but also mark the question for the review later. So where you have all your question numbers at the bottom, from 0 to 40, you will see there's going to be like a little circle around it. So this way, when you're finished, you should save at least 5 minutes to go back and check the answers you got wrong. So this is what I did. I got a perfect 9 in reading, and there were 3 questions that I was not quite sure. I selected an answer, but I marked it for later review. So at the end, whenever I had 5 minutes to check my answers, I went back and 2 of them were fine. But the third one, in the last minute, I realized that I picked the wrong answer. and I changed it last minute. And I believe this is the reason why I got 9 in reading instead of 8.5, for example. Now, tip number 5, which for myself and for most of you, I believe is the most important one. Tip number 5 is in relation to your writing. Now, this is the scary one for everybody. This is the most stressful one. This is the one that people fail the most in the IELTS exam. So what exactly is my tip? My tip is prepare, 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 prepare. And it sounds very obvious, right? But what do I mean by that? So as you saw from the earlier clips, I really only spent about 2 days practicing or preparing for the exam. And to be honest, I didn't really fully take advantage of the preparation. I did a lot of procrastinating and a lot of, this and that. Now, the one I prepared for quite a bit is task number 1 and 2 specifically for my writing section, because I know most people fail the essay or they fail with the writing. So I looked at the scoring, what are the requirements of the question, what is the format, and so on. And my most important piece of advice, which is something that I didn't follow and something that I did wrong, is to actually simulate a real exam situation. Set a timer for 60 minutes. Pick any 2 random questions and actually plan it, actually write it, actually check it, actually count the words. So what happened to me in the exam is, in advance, I understood what am I supposed to do for the letter or for the describing the image and for the essay. I understood the word limit. I understood roughly how I need to do it. I prepared in my head a structure, some kind of a format that I'm going to follow that's going to be easier for me in the exam. Now, what I did not prepare is I didn't actually write anything at all. So when I got to the exam, I realized that I spent too long on task number 1. I spent 25 minutes out of the 1 hour on task number 1, where in reality, I'm only supposed to spend 20 minutes maximum. And what I actually did, I wrote way too many words. For task number 1, you're supposed to write 150 to 200 words. My answer was almost 230 words. So actually, I had to compress some of it, and I spent too long. So I only had 35 minutes to write my essay. And look, I knew I could manage it, but for most people, it's very stressful. So if you don't have that time to prepare and to plan your ideas properly, it's going to affect your score dramatically. And this is why I was very upset when I got only 8 in writing, because I was expecting to get 8.5 or 9. And one of the reasons why is I didn't have so much time to check my answers. And in the last minute, I actually corrected some of my spelling. So what I tended to do is typically I spell with the American English. So for example, using color with just COLOR, or let's say for the word organize, I spell it a lot with a Z. But then I got messed up. So I was writing with British because it's a British exam, but then I was also writing with the American because it's a habit. And in the last minute, I had to go through all of my essay and I had to make sure that I was consistent. And I found a few times I was using the Z spelling and a few times I was using the S spelling. So because of that, I didn't actually have time to check the rest of my vocabulary and maybe improve and add more collocations or replace some of the simple words for more difficult words. So you guys will see as well in one of the upcoming videos the exact essay that I wrote, because the moment I left the exam room, I typed my essay up on my phone and pretty much 80% or 90% from memory. And this is the essay that got me 8 band in writing. But again, my tip for you for your writing especially, please prepare, prepare, prepare. Understand the structure, understand the marking, prepare how you're going to write the answers and actually write the answers. You need to plan your answer very carefully. You need to spend the proper amount of time. You need to know when to move on. So that's a wrap. I really hope that brought you a lot of value. If you like this video, click subscribe right now, give it a like, and it's going to keep me and my team motivated to put out more videos for you guys with the tips, the tricks, the strategies, and the in-depth tutorials of how to solve specific questions. So stay tuned. This is Alex, and I will see you next time.